Your main agenda right now is to remove the quarter panel, which will be a tough enough job as it is. Fasteners in behind the door, so you're going to have to open this door, or whichever quarter panel you're trying to remove, either the driver's door or the passenger door. If you are working on the passenger side of a Caprice, you're going to have a battery that is more than likely in your way. You're going to have to move this battery or disconnect it and remove it from the vehicle. I just lift it up and set it here. Doesn't matter, just as long as it's out of your way. You only need a few inches of work space. So we'll go ahead and start with the most easiest fasteners. They're right here in the open, 13mm socket for this. Okay, so take a few minutes and just browse around underneath your engine compartment looking for fasteners that may potentially be holding down the front quarter panel. You want to really take your time and browse around here before you start removing fasteners. Take a look in behind this corner here. You can tell that in behind the inner fender well that there is fasteners that run in along here. We got one here, one up top, one just right in the middle somewhere here. There's the next one right here where my finger is, and so forth. Then if you take a real inside look up there in the fender well, you're going to notice yourself that there is fasteners in the middle as well. You really want to take your time and browse around and look what fasteners need to be removed, because you could potentially be removing fasteners that don't need to be removed, and then all of a sudden, you know, you just created yourself extra work, and now you're like, well, I just removed all these fasteners and they didn't have to come out. So take your time, browse around, make sure you're removing bolts that need to be removed. You ever see one of these? If you have them in your shop, now would be a good time to use them. Ratchet wrenches. Makes it easier to remove your inner fender well bolts instead of having to remove the tire. If you have worn out suspension, especially on the front end like what I do, unfortunately, your front end probably sags, and there's a lot of there's very little space here to work and to get maneuvered around some of the fasteners. Not all of them, but some of them may be very difficult. This comes in handy. 7/16 ratchet wrench required for this task. Okay, you're going to also want to remove this splash guard. There's normally a splash guard here. I have removed it already from the vehicle. There is also a fastener up in along here as well. So you're going to want to remove him as well. So you think you got them all, eh? Haha, no you haven't. Oh yeah, there's even one tucked in way up there. You have to remove this fastener as well. Moving our way up the car now. This fastener must be removed. Now, keep in mind, there is body alignment shims here. So when you remove this, count how many shims there are and try and get them lined up in the same spot they were in before you had removed them. Now if you notice here, I'm using a 15mm wrench instead of a socket. It makes it easier. Not only that, it'll prevent any damage, any scuff marks to your paint if you just use a wrench instead of a socket and a ratchet. Then you're not rubbing up against the bottom side of your hood, or you're scuffing against your quarter panel. So use a wrench, it'll be better. Okay, while we're up in this general area here, 13mm socket. We're using a deep one here so we stay away from our freshly painted quarter panel. This is actually a hood support bracket, okay? Now the hood doesn't have to be removed per se, but you might want to get yourself a buddy if you find a sober one around, and get him to hold just to support the hood up. Okay, now the hood is a very heavy, awkward unit to try and manipulate and handle. So if you don't have a buddy to help you out, no problem. What I got going on here is just a standard garden shovel. I'm using that as a prop rod. Notice I got it on this corner only. Not worried about the driver's side at all. There's nothing going to happen over on that side. Mainly because I'm not dismantling that quarter panel. So the hood, even though it's not too terribly heavy, as long as it's up in this position, it's not going to come crashing down on your hands or nothing. But just as a safety precaution, keep your hands away from these areas down in here below your spring where the fasteners are. Kind of keep your shoulder kind of like this while you're doing this, you know, just while you're working here. Just be prepared for it. Nothing will happen as long as you take some safety precautions. Keep a garden shovel like this, use it as a prop rod, and then it won't come crashing down. It is a heavy unit, but it's not going to come crashing down full weight, mainly because you haven't dismantled anything on the other side, so it won't be too bad. The spring on the opposite side will be carrying some of the weight of the hood, so it's not going to be full, 2 tons of steel coming crashing down on your hands or anything like that already, So just take your time at it and just keep some safety precautions and keep your wits about you when it comes to the safety aspect of this procedure. As you are working up at the front of the quarter panel in this very, very tight spot, you're going to find yourself a 15mm bolt. You're going to need a 15mm shallow socket to get him out of here. Very difficult spot. Set him there, and now we're going to want to go ahead and there's a fastener here. No, that is not for the door hinge. It is actually for the quarter panel. The bolts below it here are for the door, so don't remove those, leave those intact. And then if we close our door, we'll actually need them all the way open. There's also a bolt there that you're going to have to remove as well. As you have removed the top bolt, there's also a fastener at the bottom of the door right here in this location. You might get a shallow socket with a 3/8 drive ratchet in here, or you may not. You might need a wrench, and just like that. So if the bolt starts getting a little too tight for you, or if you start running out of room with your shallow socket, you might want to turn over to a wrench. I think I'm going to do that right now because I'm going to be jammed up against the door pretty soon here. So I'm going to go over to a 15mm wrench and proceed to removing the rest of my fastener. Alright, so removing the quarter panel after you have all your bolts removed is not a walk in the park, okay, because your fender is leaning over certain inner body panels of the vehicle, and it can be very tedious.